So, decided to do this video on titled 5th edition. What the hell are y'all doing? Um, 5th edition is a great system, and everybody has their preferences for D&D 5.0. Some people prefer Pathfinder. A couple people prefer, I shouldn't say a couple people, some people prefer 4.0. Some people prefer 3.5. And some of us old guys and everything. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, my ultimate D&D preference game is 2nd edition with the use of skills and powers of combat and tactics. I played that for many years, and that was my fave. But my question here is, and I realize that 5th edition hasn't been out that long, but they've been producing a lot of books. But what they haven't been producing is really cool source material. And I don't know if it's some type of new marketing scheme that they've come up with, but as a general rule, you want to make, things that players want is they're going to want like an equipment guide. They're going to want a guide that allows them to make different classes, a guide that allows them to make alterations to their classes, the pre-existing classes. Guides them allow them to make alterations to the races or adds additional races, stuff like that. And they're not producing it, and I don't know if I don't know the reason why they're not. I'm assuming someone's going to think that because it's newer, but they're producing books. They are. They're constantly coming out with new books, but the books are like, Volo's Guide to the Monsters, or the Sword Coast, the Sword Coast Adventures, or that giant game that they came out with, and I want to say they brought out like 3 books for that or something, for campaign, but they're not producing any source material to allow people to have adaptations to their actual character classes, which is what people love. And see, and this is the kicker for me, and this is what I don't get, is because, okay, so you have you come out with these Sword Coast Adventures, and then granted, they got a little smart about this, because I think they have like their own player's handbook version of these, so you can get more into the game, and so you got 1 GM per group, so they represent 1/5 of the group, on average. And so the stuff that you really want to sell is like things like player's handbooks. Everybody has to have a player's handbook. Not everybody has to have a Dungeon Master's Guide. Not everybody has to have a Monstrous Manual. But everybody does have to have a player's handbook. And so what I don't understand is, why not make alternate classes? And this is why I love Pathfinder. Pathfinder has so much material that you can work with that it borders on excessive. Like there's some stuff that just, there's so much of it, it's just like, okay, this is too much. I even found there's a lot of things that I'm not going to purchase. But they have a lot of good stuff. And they have several different stuff that adds different classes, several different things that add different races, several different stuff that add different equipment. And I absolutely love their pawns, their NPC guidebook on intrigue, and different versions of book on intrigues, different versions of books on areas that they do. And granted, they've been around a lot longer than 5th edition has. And obviously that's going to explain some of it. But by now, they should have been able to come up with a player's handbook 2 or something to that effect, you know, that allows you to be able to create more characters, more classes, and stuff like this. See, this is copyright 2014. This has been out for 3 years. I want to say a system runs that D&D's done on average. I want to say it ran like 8 to 10 years before they come out with a new system. I want to say, not positive. I think the big. Ugh. ...2008. So, 6 years. And, you know, the Dungeons & Dragons 4.0 has 1 million source books. In fact, they kind of dropped the ball on the making 1 million source books, because they made it dependent on having the source books. I mean, God, I'm sure I'm not the only one here that got mad with what. Let's see. I'm gonna really see it in the. I want to say it's the second one. The character classes. You can't use a monk until you buy the 3rd book. If that's not a D-bag move, I don't know what is. But you need the 3rd book to play a monk. And now you would need the first one if you were going to use a common race. And as a general rule, I don't have a big problem with 4th edition. I have some problems with 4th edition, and it is definitely a different system. So you can't enter 4th edition like it doesn't play like any of the other editions. It's the furthest edition from the actual editions that they've ever created, but I don't think it's a bad system. I mean, there was definitely things that I disliked and things that I downright hated. For instance, the introduction to the Eladrin race. I absolutely, utterly hated that. And the reason why I hated the introduction to the Eladrin race is because I'm an older guy, and I remember going back and reading Dragonlance way back when. I remember reading Dragonlance while they were printing the books out, and I'm not talking about the new World Dragonlance where they started this new series and it was complete crap and they killed off all the good characters, and they started with these new characters, and the surviving couple characters that they had were secondary characters, and they were crap characters, and the storyline was crap and crap. I'm talking about like the original Dragonlance. That was pretty baller. But yeah, I really like that. I even read Eberron books when they first came out too. I really liked the Eberron system. I thought that the Eberron system was cool, and one of the things I absolutely loved about the Eberron system was it wasn't Forgotten Realms. For the love of Christ, God, I'm so tired of Forgotten Realms. And I know there's so many people that love Forgotten Realms, and I'm they have to, otherwise the system wouldn't have just stayed there for as long as it has the campaign setting. But and I've read a lot of books from Forgotten Realms, and I mean I probably read 20 Drizzt books and by itself, which I don't read Drizzt books anymore for a couple reasons. I I won't go into that. But as fifth edition goes, I really like this new system. I like the way it plays, and the one of the biggest things I love about the introduction to the system is the backgrounds. The backgrounds are beautiful. Being able to pick a background, and that background legitimately affects your character's concept statistically on paper, is beautiful. It was something that should have been done so long ago, and it's one of the things that I think that Pathfinder needs to add as a source book. And you know, instead of, you know, I think at this point it would be so redundant for Pathfinder. I mean, it would be ridiculous for Pathfinder to start a new edition. You know, I think that they've got a great idea with what they're doing by just expanding onto the edition that exists. But I think that if they were to add a book of backgrounds and that could add to the characters, and so long as you own the book or whatever, you can add the background to your character, and it would give you, you know, set skills or set abilities or something like that. That would be awesome. It's a great idea, and I think they should steal that from 5.0. But and I think that fifth edition looks beautiful. It does. It looks beautiful. But like I said, I don't think that they're producing material that's going to. I don't think that they're producing material to expand that can sell as well as like you know, a class book or something like that. You know, players are going to buy them. GMs are going to buy them. You know, because that's what players want to see. They want to see different classes that they can play and different races that they can play. You know, any excuse, you know, like that to, especially mid-maxers, man. You know, I can take this one character and everything. He happens to have a +4 to strength, and he does this and everything, and then I can make him, you know, have this huge X because he's a large-sized creature, which then adds this. You know, you get what I'm saying. But you know, I think that fifth edition is a beautiful system, and I think that that if they continue to producing more books like that, and I'm hoping to see them in the future, that it's going to sell. I don't like the adventures that they're producing. Um, I'm playing in the Storm King Thunder one, and I don't know if it's the GM, and I don't think it's the GM. I mean, I'm sure a better GM could probably make it more enjoyable, but I don't blame it on the GM. I think it's boring. I think it's tedious. It's obnoxious. It's just, I don't like it. I even listened to Matt Mercer, him GMing it, because, you know, I'm one of those GMs that I always want to make myself better. And if there's people like Matt Mercer that exist, who are clearly, you know, they're the epitome of what we consider a great GM. Um, you know, you're going to want to emulate, you know, people around you, you know, that you think are at a higher level than what you are, what you would like to aspire to be. And even listening to him run that story, it's just, oh god, that's boring. And you know, and I'm pretty much in the thick of it. And the I think the worst part I find about this game is and I'm playing in the Storm King's Thunder, is that is the GM realized that I can role play, and he wanted to add me and have this whole thing going on with my character, and have it involved with, you know, the plot. And I am so bored by this game that I don't want to do it. And and I get it, because as a GM, I do the same thing. If I have 4 or 5 players in my game and I say, hey guys, give me a background, and one person sends me a 5-page background in depth about their character, you know, that is probably going to be the guy that's going to get more show in the game. It's not intentional, but you know more about the character. You know what the character's aspirations are. You know what you can do. You know how to motivate them. They're the person to go to. And as a GM, I always tell my players, give me a background, give me a story, give me your character. The more you write about your character, the more you give me to work with, the more I can do with your character, the more I can bring you into the plot and everything. I met my wife. I love her to death. And I asked her to give me a background, and she hadn't. She's not very, although she loves role playing, she loves all that and everything. But didn't get around to doing it like most players. And she's really hard to motivate because it's hard to fathom what her character wants. What the how to get the character from point A to point B, organically. And that becomes a problem in the game. And so obviously I'm gonna fall back to characters that have backgrounds, or or more transparent on their motivations, to be able to try and help lead the game in a direction, or make them more intrinsically part of the game, eh, because they made it easier for you. There's a path of least resistance there. But as far as me going in this game and doing it, I have like zero aspiration for it. And I'm kind of dreading it because the next game session we're actually going to go into it, and I ended up writing it. I ended up going back and rewriting my character's background to fit this into the background, and it involves the airship inside there, and writing how the airship originally belonged to my character, and and my wife gets a little annoyed because she believes that the GM caters to my character more than the other players, and I know, and I respect her annoyance about that, and even I find it annoying myself, but I know the reason why. The reason why is because if you make a character that is deep, has depth, has a background, has motivations, has has direction, that's going to be the character the GM's going to go to. And a lot of players don't understand this, and you have to actually put effort into your character. If you do not put effort into your character, you're just going to be standing there still, because you're part of the party, but not as much, because the GM has to run the game. It has to create the world, has to act out all the NPCs. They don't have time to take a crowbar and pry elements out of your character to figure out who your character is. And we'll play the alignment game. Just because a character says my alignment is this, doesn't mean that they are this. Doesn't mean that that's their motivation. It doesn't, to a certain degree, it doesn't mean anything, because players are going to play the character, the way that they end up playing them, and they're going to argue within reason, every action they ever do. And so, trying to find that motivation with the character is 1,000 times easier with a background. and GMs are naturally going to lean towards the player that puts more effort into their background and more effort into their story than other players. And unfortunately, in this case, I'm not exactly happy about that, because I really do not want to be that that involved into a plot that I don't even feel inspired to role play, because I don't feel like the world is three-dimensional. I feel like it's one-dimensional, and I don't feel like everything's moving around me. I don't feel like anything really makes a difference. Um, you know, it's just it's and I blame that a lot on Storm King's Thunder, and maybe it's because I haven't read it, and maybe he's not playing the game correctly, he's not running it correctly. But like one of the things that we noticed is we made it like some 7 levels into the game, and I think there was like, according to the books, there were like 2 or 3 magical items that were gifted throughout this adventure. I'm like, what the hell are you smoking? And then we fought I forgot what it was called, like a Ramoraz or something like that. And these things are CR11, and they brutally rape parties. And if you've ever fought them before, they look like giant uh, caterpillars, or millipedes, and you strike them with melee weapons, and they superheat their body, and they inflict this nasty fire damage on you. Or if you're in their mouth, they grab a hold of you, and they oh my god, they just ream you. And I don't know if it's how he's playing it or not, but I ended up like convincing him to actually go into the DMG and actually, you know, grab out some magical items to issue, because from the way it looked in the book, or the way that he uh, basically said it, was like they didn't give any. And I I get, there are games that have less magical items. I get that there are that maybe this game is RPGA friendly, and so the magical items you get are legit, and maybe that's the reason why. Or maybe he's not doing something correctly. Maybe he's supposed to go into the DMG and pull out magical random. I don't know. But either way, um, this is me, but I think it's kind of not as fun to play a game that you've literally played 7 levels in, and you've been gifted 3 magical items, and none of them are weapons or anything. Basically you're running around with I'm level 7, about to be level 8, and I'm running around with a longsword. I meant, maybe this is my old style thinking, but the way it looks is that's the way that the 5th edition did it. And not only that, it's the storyline is not exciting. It's not, for me, it's not. What invested interest do I have in giants that they don't agree with each other? I mean, being a little pragmatic here. There's these huge problems with giants, and they're fighting for dominance and everything. So basically, what you're saying is a bunch of evil, massive creatures that usually eat humans, or enslave human beings, are actually warring between each other, and we want to stop them because of why? It just, the very basic, but like, oh well, these cities that are near it are in danger. Well, why don't we vacate these cities and let them finish out their war and kill each other off until there's only a handful left, and then we go back through there for the last couple of them, and then we kill them. I mean, that's just me being pragmatic about it. Um, it part of the joy of playing a game, and this might just be my style, but part of the joy of playing a game is actually in getting magical items. And I'm not talking about giving like high powered magical items at level 1, 2, or 3, but I'm saying, as your character vision starts uh, unfolding, that eventually you're going to want magical items. Most people are going to want magical items, unless you're playing a campaign that's like, where there's not magical items. I heard someone say, before, well, there might not be a lot of magical items in the game, but if there aren't, those magical items are really cool, and they really have flair, so someone really takes pride in it, like you're running around with the Sword of Lee from freaking Terry Brooks, and, it might be the only magical sword that he's got and everything, but the Sword of Lee, and it's broken, and it's freaking pretty cool, and, and I get that and everything, but the game just strikes me as, okay, there's not any magical items. Maybe he's misplaying it. I don't know the reason why. I haven't read the books, and I don't want to go in and read the books, and, for a couple reasons. I don't want to go in and read the books because I don't want to accidentally read ahead, because I don't want to accidentally metagame. And so I want it to all be a surprise to me, because that's part of the fun of, what little fun is actually in this is a surprise. But I don't find the story very captivating. The stories as far as in Pathfinder games, I find much more captivating. I feel like 5th edition, although it's very beautiful, and it looks like they're coming out with these really cool source books. And I think that they're worth every dime of the $50 that they're asking for you to pay for them and everything. That they're beautiful, and they may even have some extra little stuff for classes and stuff in them. And it's great. I love the look of this 5th edition. It is just beautiful, and I think that if there's one thing that they did, they really captivated the heart of D&D. And I love the way that they've done this this system for character classes and stuff like that, because yeah, it's not as powered. I'll come out right now and I'll say it's not as powered, and that doesn't bother me at all. Because if there's one thing I feel about it, even though it's not as powered, the game feels good. It does. It feels good, and I have no qualms with that. And you have like a lot of weird, strange abilities, and in some ways, it is more powerful than other games. Some of its predecessors. Well, definitely some of its predecessors, because 1st and 2nd edition definitely did not have the umph behind it that this system does. But I would not say it's more powerful than 3.5 or 4.0. Definitely not 4.0. 4.0 is very, very combat oriented, and very easy to deal out a lot of DPS. Now, that being said, 4.0 in my opinion lacks a lot when it comes to diversity. For instance, I was making an NPC for my game. In case someone steps into the game, we get to play once every 2 weeks. I do not have time for you to make a character, and so I was going to make an NPC for the purpose of for someone that came into the game, and they would have a character that they could play, and if they wanted to continue coming, they could have that character for the game, and the character is the same level as the rest of the characters in the group. If not, then they can make their own character, come back with that character, and do that, or But so I got this idea, and I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an elven cleric, who is mainly is going to be a ranged healer, and she's going to have the ability to basically just kind of stay in the back, but if she needs to, she can get into combat, but ultimately her big thing is going to be, she's going to be a ranged character, because I don't think that we have enough ranged characters in the group, and I thought that it would have been an interesting take to, instead of having a cleric run up with a shield and a mace and swath through everybody wearing like chainmail or half plate or something like that. But herein lies my problem with that, is all the powers were like strength based. With maybe a bonus from wisdom or charisma. What's the bonus from wisdom and charisma makes sense. But the fact that they essentially said, okay, your power is based on you using a melee weapon, they literally just locked pretty much any cleric into using melee, and that pissed me off. Um, because I realized that there's really not that much diversity to these classes in the 4th edition. Now, granted, I'll be the first to tell you that there is a ton of classes, and I think that 3rd edition might actually be able to make it so that you would be able to, because they have what is known as hybrid classes, hybrid characters. So let's take a gander at this. 143 hybrid cleric. You know, hybrid cleric, and so I don't know how this would affect the powers. Yeah, but essentially you can make like what would be the equivalency of a multi-class character, and so through that you would be able to do it. But the fact that you can't, that they couldn't simply have stated, you know, 2 weapon plus strength modifier, or 2 ranged plus, you know, dexterity, was like, are you kidding me? You know, one of the things I noticed also was like using like thrown weapons. You know, okay, well, my ranged ability says plus, you know, dexterity. I'm pretty sure that hand axes, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, are based off of strength. So how are we supposed to treat that? And so I really feel like they locked the characters in to being exactly what they wanted them to be, and having a hand axe would be almost obsolete. I mean, and that's obnoxious. I'm sure there's a loophole around it to get around it, but it seems like entirely too much mental juggling to make a power come to fruition. And but the powers in themselves are really cool. Um, they are, and at least playing one time around, this game is fun. And I made several characters for the system, and if as long as I'm not trying to do something too outlandish, it's not a big deal. But if I'm trying to do something that's really outlandish, the system just crumbles. Um, but fifth edition has a lot more variety when it comes to that, because we're going back to the kind of the classic D&D, but and I believe that 5th edition really fixed itself compared to some of the other editions, and I do believe that it is the pinnacle of D&D thus far. Now, do I think that 5th edition is better than Pathfinder? I think that I would never say that one is better than the other, because they both have their merits, and I like both of the systems. I believe that both Pathfinder and 5th edition are better than 4.0, but I wouldn't say that 4.0 is not a viable system to play, and I would not say that I would be opposed to playing 4.0 at all. I do believe that 5th edition, they need to get off their butt, and they need to produce more material, and I think in the 3 years that they've been producing material, I don't think that they have been producing as much material as they could, as far as better material, and I think that that's intentional. Well, could be intentional to force people to purchase stuff that they won't normally purchase, just to have more stuff for 5th edition. And I would like to see different type of material being produced than just what they're producing. Um, more source material. Now, with that being said, 5th edition is a beautiful system, and I believe that they have put an excessive amount of work into that core rulebook, and it is a beautiful thing. And you know, maybe the reason why they haven't touched on classes and stuff like that is because they don't want to produce something that is going to mess with what they've already made so far, and that I can respect. You know, they're just afraid to to put something out there. You know, until they're absolutely certain that what they have is going to mesh, and it's not going to cause any friction. And you know, and that I can understand. But as a whole, I'm very excited to see what else that 5th edition is going to come out with, and I really want to see them get off their keister and actually produce something that produce something other than, you know, adventures. And I don't think that they are going to outproduce Pathfinder. And the reason why I say this is Pathfinder, the company for Pathfinder, Paizo, they originally did Dungeon and Dragon magazine. These guys are some creative little, you know, guys, and they produce stuff so vastly that I don't think that D&D is just going to be able to keep up with it. Now, D&D does make some beautiful stuff, and what they do make actually looks very nicely glossed over, and it looks downright, it's beautiful. I will not say that there that it does not look great, but I just think that the rate that Pathfinder produces stuff, that they're just never going to be able to stay competitive with Pathfinder as far as making adventures and stuff like that. And if people are aware of how easily it is to switch over the stuff from Pathfinder into 5.0, then it's almost obsolete as to reason why to even purchase D&D 5.0 stuff. The only exception of that is getting accustomed to the world of Pathfinder, and the world of Pathfinder is different. It is vastly different, and the world that that 5.0 uses is Forgotten Realms, and Forgotten Realms is a lot of people know Forgotten Realms. I know Forgotten Realms. A lot of people know Forgotten Realms. You know, I don't care much for Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms, I feel, is overplayed. And I don't like the feel for Forgotten Realms. I don't think it's a bad campaign area. It is a very extensively wrote campaign area, but I think that Forgotten Realms lacks that pizzazz, and I've always felt that way. It's just not near as captivating, at least to me. And this is personal preference. You know, this is an area that we can disagree with all day long. I mean, this is just personal preference. There's nothing wrong with someone thinking that, you know, Pathfinder is better or Pathfinder is worse when it comes to world setting. You know, my preferred is actually Dragonlance. I mean, I love Dragonlance and Eberron. I thought they had such a great idea with Eberron. You know, those Warforged were so awesome. And I read some of the books, and I liked where they were going with it. And I thought that it was definitely high fantasy intrigue, and allowed almost getting into like Spelljammer almost. It was pretty cool. You know, but obviously not everybody liked it, or otherwise Eberron would still be around today instead of Forgotten Realms. You know, I mean, even Greyhawk died out eventually. But that's what I got to say about that. I think that 5.0 needs to get off the butt and create some more material. And all right, guys, peace.